Hi, my name's Dex Randall, and this is the Burnout to Leadership podcast, made for professional men looking for a way out of burnout, back to passion, productivity, and reward at work. And today, what I want to talk to you about is what you can do if you are in burnout. So basically, we're in burnout for a long time. Once it begins, it usually doesn't go away that much. What happens is with burnout is we've gone over the top of performance and we've blown down into driving our performance downwards. And once that downwards trajectory begins, it usually continues on for quite a long time. And it can be episodic. Sometimes we can have burnout for a little while in a specific project or a specific circumstance, but often the attributes that get us into burnout once will get us into burnout repeatedly. And how I think about burnout really in this way is it's a self-image crash. We experience disappointment, exhaustion, despair quite often comes along with it. We think we've lost our mojo and it's not coming back, basically. And what we've normally done, we're usually type A personalities, high achievers. We're used to being able to solve any problem. And so what we do is we try to fix burnout by throwing more effort and energy at it. But we haven't really got very much energy at this point, and we certainly haven't got much motivation either. But we still think we can fix the problem through effort, but trying to fix it through effort actually makes it worse. It drives us further down and we just become more and more depleted, really. So we don't rely on that to get us out of burnout. What we rely on is neuroplasticity. The wonderful thing about neuroplasticity is it keeps working until the day you die. There is nothing in aging that prevents neuroplasticity working. You can teach an old dog new tricks anytime you want. And neuroplasticity, of course, it's evidence-based. It works on cognitive behavior therapy, actually. So it's a very solid approach to digging ourselves out of the hole. And really what we begin to do when we're pulling ourselves out of burnout is we start managing the symptoms. We pick off the worst of the symptoms one by one until we start regaining a bit of resilience and energy. And then we start dealing with the long-term prospects that we can develop out for ourselves in increasing our enjoyment and performance and reward at work. And so all of those things are eminently possible. I don't care what you do for a living or who you are or what age you are or where you think you're at. If burnout's your problem, it's fixable. So what I'm going to do in the next video after this is I'm going to start talking about symptoms. I'm going to start with anxiety since that's one of the prime offenders. But today, I'm going to talk about what you can do right now if you're in burnout. And the first thing you need to do is stop trying to fix it yourself, because that's not working, is it? And that's kind of freaky, isn't it? So what I would recommend is you get someone who knows how to help you fix it quickly, easily, sustainably, in a very doable way. And partly one of the reasons I'm saying that is you're driving yourself further down. But another reason is burnout feels like it can't be fixed, right? It's kind of your guilty secret. You've lost your mojo and you don't know how to fix that problem. So it can be fixed. The fix is quite simple and teachable. You're a professional, you're going to pick it up easily, but you need somebody who knows what they're doing to guide you. And that could be me. I can show you how to do that if you'd like. This is what I teach. I help people recover from burnout every day, reach their highest potential in and out of work. So I teach basically new skills to replace the old ones that are no longer serving you, no longer working the way that they used to for you. And for an example of that is perfectionism. And when you already have the skill of working at the highest standard, perfectionism that always demands more, it just becomes a hindrance, a time waster. It's just an energy suck. So let's rewire you to maintain your professionalism, your very high standards, but with less effort, less strain, better results. Anyhow, so when my clients learn these skills, they tend to start feeling better around the 3 to 4 week mark, and it keeps getting better and better and better from there in terms of enjoyment, skills, reward, all of that, performance, engagement with people, all of that. So let me just tell you a little bit about how I discovered basically how to develop these skills in myself at first, because here's what I did when I had burnout. I listened to a lot of people. I studied a lot of people who were talking about burnout. I researched all over. I read a lot of books, listened to a lot of podcasts, but I couldn't really find anyone or anything I really thought or believed would help me. And then I came across a coaching podcast. It was Brooke Castillo, in fact. And the way she works is, what's your specific problem today? Let's find a way to fix that one problem. And then we'll apply the same solution to other similar problems that you have. And she started her career working in weight loss, and then she went on to over drinking and broadened it out. But her principles rely on cognitive behavior therapy. And obviously, cognitive behavior therapy, CBT, is based on the theory that the way individuals perceive a situation is much more closely connected to their reaction and their results than the situation itself. So CBT is an evidence-based process for reversing that negative response to the world or negative interpretation of the self and of the job and all the other stuff. So, this is none of the kind of stuffing around associated with a lot of forms of therapy. She wanted to fix my problems right now, today. And, that's basically how she got my attention. So when I found her, let's just say that my problem was, and I'm going to paraphrase here. Let's say my problem was, my boss won't let me complete the job that he hired me to do. And, I'm going to guess that some of you have a similar problem. I was the CTO in a startup, and it was my job to get the product built and launched. And, my boss, who was actually a very decent guy, had a lot of worries of his own, one of which was raising capital, very common one. And the other one I suspect could have been, I think he had some fear of failure. He was exhibiting what I call startup-itis. He appeared very highly motivated to impress other people with his plans and ideas, and less motivated to launch a product. And I guess, looking back, what we don't launch, we can't fail at, right? So anyhow, so Brooke says, hey, your problem, it's not about your boss, which is weird because I quit my job during a Tuesday morning meeting when it suddenly dawned on me, it suddenly became crystal clear that no launch could or would ever happen. And that the stress of that was gonna kill me, And I'd never failed before. I had a lovely track record of whizzing out new product, on demand. So I quit my job, I went home, and a couple of weeks later I had a major heart attack. And that's why I was sitting around on my sofa listening to podcasts and researching how to get out of burnout. So anyway, back to Brooke's teaching. She said, okay, my boss wasn't the problem. The job wasn't the problem because I couldn't control them anyway, right? So she wanted to know what I was thinking about myself in the job. She questioned whether I was accurate in knowing what was required of me, whether I was beating myself up about my performance, what it meant to me not to be able to launch, why, in fact, not launching was a problem for me. And she told me that if I was exhausted, stressed, anxious, overworked, frustrated, despairing, all that, it was much more likely to be from the rules I made up for myself about how I should perform. And, needing to do everything perfectly and please all of the people all of the time. She said, hey, just tell yourself a different story about yourself. Tell yourself you're fantastic at launching products. Tell yourself you did a brilliant job at everything that was possible. Tell yourself you tried your best to get it done. And notice all the good work you did do and your desire to fix the problem. Because essentially at work, performance gains don't come from beating yourself up. I'm guessing you've probably proved that to yourself by now. So it turns out what happens is our brains look in all the wrong places for evidence of our performance. They look at what's gone wrong and they ignore what's gone right. So we take our talent, skills, and experience for granted. We don't even see them, and we notice only our shortcomings. You might also know this as confirmation bias. Our brains only ever want to seek evidence that what we already believe in is true and ignore everything else. So if we think we're failing, our brains are going to prove it. And really, essentially, that's an ego trick. It's normal human behavior. That's what we're programmed to do. Left unchecked, it's a habit that snowballs over the years until it torments us with every real or imaginary mistake we made or might have made or could make in the future. Every dumb decision, every embarrassing fail, every person we mistreated or disappointed, everything we forgot to do, every time we snarled at the family, every time we didn't deliver at work. I bet, in fact, your brain is still telling you things you did wrong when you were 6 or 12 or 15 or any age. Ever wonder what good that does? Yeah, me too. So if you're going to have confirmation bias, which is by its nature delusional, the antidote to that is just reversing the polarity, deciding you're okay, looking at things you are doing well on purpose. You might possibly even be good at your job. You might be valuable, maybe. You might even be a keeper. So that's what I did. I looked at my job and I reclassified it. I looked at the skills, the wins, all the creative ideas, the will to succeed, the experience, the management, the teamwork. I looked for every tiny bit of good I did or tried to do. And really, the upshot of that was I realized I was the same A player that had had so much success in the past. I'd just taken a little bit of a knock and lost faith. I'd racked up a few little difficult life events, and I kind of, on reflection, when I did that positive summary, I began to see that losing my mojo at work might not be terminal. It might be reversible. And I kind of explored this new way of thinking and I applied it to each new problem as it arose. And if you're in burnout, the thing I'd suggest you notice is how mean you're being to yourself, how much you worry about disappointing yourself and others, how dissatisfied and irritable and frustrated all that makes you, how utterly exhausted and hopeless you then feel when you're thinking that way. Because how you do one thing is how you do everything. I'm going to bet your life outside work is not all cherries either, right? You kind of lost interest and motivation there too, lost engagement. So here's the thing, right? You can develop a range of new skills in interpreting your world in a way that serves you and your part in it. And you're going to be shocked how much difference that makes. There's a guy called Sean H. I hope I pronounced his name right. He's a Harvard researcher. And in his TED Talk, he said that The Happy Secret to Better Work is the title of the TED Talk. And he said 90% of long-term happiness is predicted by the way your brain processes the world. And as I said in the last episode, and it's worth saying again, if you're in burnout, you're not doing it wrong. But there is a better way that nobody's taught you yet. And the really great news is it's very simple, doable, reliable, anyone can do it. I'm going to teach you. It's going to be really easy for you as a high achiever. It's sustainable and it's going to release all the potential in you that you thought had gone forever. It's going to get your mojo back. So don't waste your future in frustration and despair. The world needs you. Your family needs you. People need you. They need your good side back as much as you do. So think of your colleagues, your family, your partner. Think of the people who matter to you in your world. Remember how much you used to enjoy your work, problem solving, helping others, coming home at the end of the day satisfied, having creative ideas, feeling rewarded by serving at your highest potential. It was all kind of a game once, right? And you were winning at the game and you can win again. So if you want to get back on form and support others, well, I don't know, it's not even an if. I know you want that, and I know you've got a big heart. So your passion, drive, your authentic leadership are still available to you. They're still there waiting. Your mojo is still back there, right where you left it. So go get it. If you're in burnout and you want to get out, if you want renewed passion at work and at home, book a time to talk to me. Thanks for listening today. Really appreciate that. I'm coming back to you in the next episode with how to deal with some of the symptoms. Meanwhile, you can visit my website at dexrandall.com for the show notes. And please do subscribe and rate this podcast.